Aloha, all you moneymakers. This is Indar Lang, and I got a fun episode today for you guys. It's for all the beginners out there and how to start in real estate, how to find your first deal, and how to just get started in this business. I mean, everyone always asks, if you had your first 10,000, what would you do, or how do you get started in this business? And the answer can be easy, can be simple. It's really different, and that's what we'll go over to whatever path you are in on life, basically where you're at. Um, so let's do it. Let's dive on in, and I'll show you some ninja hacks and some tricks and tricks of the trade, and let's go for it. So let's do it, guys. So finding your first deal or just first property. Let's kind of start a premise before this. Where you guys are at in life. Are you that still young entrepreneur, or do you have a job? Are you making a W-2 income? Because this is important. So the first way I started, or I suggest everyone out there that's starting, is if you have a W-2 income, if you have a job, you're making any kind of money, just anything, is to go to a bank and just start. There is so much first-time home buying programs out there for anyone who's just trying to buy their first house. And this is your primary house. And so if you aren't living in your own house, you are renting, you're living at home with your parents, um, that's fine. If you can still utilize this loan to go buy your first time house. And there is so much great programs. It's normally only 3.5% down. So say you're buying, I don't know, a $300,000 condo. That's about $5,000 you have to bring to the table. There'll be some other closing costs and some other fees, maybe 10,000. And if that is even too much for you, there are some other assistance programs that will help you with your first time with your down payment. When I bought my first house, I only had to put 1% to the table. I bought a $240,000 condo. It was tiny. If you are in mainland U.S., then of course you can find tons of houses for 200,000 to 300,000. But here in Hawaii, you're going to have to kind of just be all right with getting something smaller first, just for now. And the play is to utilize this first-time home buying program, and it doesn't go away either. So you can buy your primary house. If you sell this one, you can go buy another primary house again. So this program doesn't mean you lose it, kind of per se. It just means you're buying your primary residence. So anytime you're buying your personal residence for yourself to live in, there is a ton of assistance programs. There's a ton of great loans and cheap loans out there, so you don't have to raise capital and find private money and all this kind of stuff. And the best way to start is to that way. It's to go to a bank, and a credit union or smaller banks is who I like to work with. They'll give you better rates and take care of you more. So um, you're not a you're somebody important to the smaller bank compared to the bigger banks. You're kind of not as important, I should say. But that smaller bank, he'll just give you a foundation to work with. It. You'll find that loan officer. I know it takes a little bit. You're going to spend a Saturday. You're going to spend 2 hours, and he's going to tell you what you need to get for him. You got to get all your pay stubs. You may have it already, and you may get it to him. Now he's just going to game plan for you. Okay, the next 6 months, possibly a year. What do you need to get done, or what do you need to get to, like credit-wise, um, or income-wise, or it's just going to game plan you. And that's honestly the best way to start, is to get down with the loan officer, and they're just going to talk it over with you. And hey, you need to show this, or we need to get that. Especially if you're young, that's where you want to start. You want to just start with the game plan of moving forward. This is a game plan of life. This is not a get rich quick scheme kind of thing. This is a 30-year process. Um, and that's what you're playing here. You're playing the game of life. You get down to the bank, you get down to a credit union to spend a Saturday, ask questions. Don't be shy. Walk up into the bank and ask them, hey, do you have somebody who can help me with a loan, getting a loan for a property? And they're going to they want to make money, so they're going to help you get that loan. They're going to tell you what you need. They're going to tell you what kind of paperwork to fill out. And it does take a little bit. I'm constantly filling out paperwork for loans and all that. It never stops. Um, but they're going to really help you utilize to get that loan. And say if you even have bad credit, they'll tell you like a credit company that helps you better your credit, or what you can do to improve it, or what's the minimum. You might think you have bad credit, but they might be all right with a 680 credit score. or so forth. So you're not going to know until you get started. You may think you know, but you don't know, because there might be rules or stipulations that are just waived or looked upon because you're a first-time home buyer. First-time home buyer or your primary residence there's a lot of kind of leeway to it all. There's all kinds of assistance, and there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of programs and out there. Shoot, jump on the ChatGPT right now, and I'm sure it'll tell you a ton of different assistant programs and options out there for you. That would be ChatGPT would walk you through the whole thing. And this is primary that you have a job. You do need a job, and you do have to have a W-2. You have to have a paycheck coming in. It's just a place to start. You're not buying your dream residence. You're not buying your final house that you're going to live in forever. You're just buying that property that you're going to live in it. Maybe you paint it up. Maybe you do something to it. Maybe you fix it up yourself. Maybe you don't. But now you're paying your own rent. Maybe you don't even move to it. You're supposed to, but maybe you don't even move to it. You stay at home and you rent it out, and you're just breaking even and covering your mortgage. But now you have a property. That property is just a game changer at all, because now that's going to go up in value. It's going to appreciate over time. It could be a rental. You can leverage off of this later on. There's so much more you can do with that. You can sell it in a few years, and now it's a flip. Now you made some money. That's what I did. I lived in it myself, painted it, I fixed up the kitchen. It was a tiny little kitchen, but we loved it. Me and my girlfriend, wife now at the time, girlfriend, wife now, she supported me the whole thing, and we painted it and did it, and we sold it. We bought it for $240 and sold it at $340, and made $90,000 and moved on to the next project. We were 26 years old at the time, and it was just a hard process and scary process of buying a house. I didn't know nothing about it all. Didn't know what escrow was. Didn't know what appraisal was. I didn't know nothing, and that was kind of how I got started in it. And it sounds simple and easy, but it does take like time out of your schedule, and it's all new to you, I guess. It's new to me. It was to me. So just that simple process though. And then you may be asking, well, I don't have a W-2. I'm not working right now. Where else could I get started? Well, that's when you start looking at wholesaling. So wholesaling is another side option to how to find just make some money real quick. So if you do some wholesaling, you lock up, it's totally separately. You're going to lock up a good flip. You're going to find a good deal. You're going to sell that deal off to somebody else. You're going to sign that contract to somebody else and make some quick buck there to help you potentially buy a property with a hard money lender or somebody. Hard money lender doesn't care about your income. They're just going to care about the property. But those two options of just wholesaling and dealing, in case you have no job, no work, you're not making any money, you need some money to go buy that first property, you're going to do some wholesale deals. If not, just utilize that first-time homeowner. And I'm not saying you have to move into property. I'm just saying that that's free money. That's cheap money. The interest rate's going to be the lowest rates you're going to find. It's cheaper than hard money. It's cheaper than any other money, because these are FHA, Fannie and Freddie loans. These are federal government-backed money from the government. So it's going to be your cheapest loan rate, interest rate. And also, they're not going to give you more than you can afford as well. So they're not going to, if you're worried about, oh, I can't afford this, or I won't be able to pay for it, they're not going to give you something you can't afford. They're not going to give you something you couldn't reasonably afford. They don't want you to go under. They don't want you to buy something bigger than you can't. And so you don't have to worry about, oh, can I afford it? Because you will be able to afford it. That's how they're going to underwrite this loan to make sure you can afford it. And another thing you might be worried about is, oh man, it's not my dream house, or it's not big enough, or it's not this, or it's not that. This is not your end-all be-all house. This is just a stepping stone to your next project, your flip, your next rental. This is if you're here in Hawaii, this is an easy $100,000 you can make just by owning a property and selling it in a few years. I mean, who wouldn't want an extra $100,000? The properties in Hawaii do go up in value over time. They appreciate. They go up generally. So you find that right time to sell, and you sell and move on. And the other cool part about it is, if you are paying rent, now you're paying your own mortgage, your own bills. You're paying your mortgage down, meaning you're putting money back into your pocket. So when you're paying your own mortgage, that's money less you owe on it. So you're really putting that money back into your pocket when you pay your own mortgage. There is some interest that you pay on it. You don't get to keep, that's not money back in your pocket, but the interest is a tax write-off. So there's benefits there as well. So there's just a ton of benefits of owning your first-time home buyers. The federal government wants you to do that, and that's why they give you all these benefits to do so. They want you to own your own property. They want all of us U.S. citizens to have, properties to live in, and that's why there's so many different programs out there to help you. Some other common mistakes or kind of concerns I can think about is not having the down payment might be a big scarce, worry for people. I don't have enough of a down payment? And that's why they have these down payment assistant programs for you. Literally, you can go on to ChatGPT and find some. There's all kinds of extra. I just heard about this, another app. It's called Skip, and it helps you get business lines of credit. So there's a lot of different kind of programs out there that help you. And that's what some of these lenders, they'll know that, especially the mainland lenders will know the variety of programs out there for that first-time home buyer. Here in Hawaii, it's a smaller pool, so in the mainland they have bigger options a lot of times. So even if you can find a mainland lender out there or a broker who's going to do it for you, and they can help you with that down payment. So generally, just to do your math in your house, it's going to be 3.5% down is what you're going to need on that property. So if you're buying a $100,000 property, that's $3,500 down. $200,000 property, it's $7,000 down. And then $300,000 property, whatever, 12% down, 12,000 down, sorry. Plus some closing costs and all that. But here's another trick to it all. If you're worried about closing costs and all the costs to buy the property, you have to pay escrow, you have to pay all these fees, possibly pay the agents. You can offer that in your loan. Hey, Mr. Seller, I'll buy your property at the asking price, but you got to cover all my closing costs. Wham, bam, boom. Now you don't have to worry about all these closing costs because that seller will pay for it. And if he's getting his asking price of $300,000, I'm sure he'll cover $2,000 to $3,000 of your closing costs just to help you out. That's how creative and simple it can be for you, where they can cover the closing costs. The bank is going to want you to have that down payment. Worst case, you can borrow it. You can get a small loan from family and friends, especially if it's like a $5,000 or $10,000 loan. Hopefully, if you don't have the money, maybe you could ask. There's some other sources out there I can kind of mention later on, but that's going to be the hardest part of it all, get down payment. And then of course finding something decent that you like. That's scary. You're not going to be able to buy something big here in Hawaii, so you're going to have to kind of just be all right with living in a smaller place. You're not going to live in a big house anymore, but you own it and it's yours, and everything in those walls is yours, and that's the coolest feeling ever. You can paint it, you can graffiti the walls, you can make it really nice, and it's yours. That money goes back to you, by making it nice, by keeping it clean. That's really money coming back to you because you're taking care of this asset that you can sell later. And a little bit of creative financing there I mentioned earlier can really help you just with that down. The last part of it all is now you have an asset. Now you have something to start with it. So what do you do next? And in a year or two, you can obviously sell it. If it's up in value, make some money. You can maybe, if it's up in value in a year, you can get a line of credit off of it. You can borrow against that property. So you may be able to get a HELOC from that property and take some money out, $20,000, $30,000, and now you have a next down payment to buy your next rental. So that's a good way to do it. Or you may buy that property, and who says you didn't decide to rent it out, not live in it? And so that property could thus turn into a rental. You are now renting it out, And it's happening. It's common. People buy their property and eventually rent them out. So you rent it out, and it's a cash flowing good rental, and now you have this extra income to help you. And if it's only $300-400, that's fine. Now you can actually go buy another primary residence again, because that primary residence is not there anymore. You're done with it. You're moving on to your another primary residence, and that rental income can actually help you afford another property, or you can take money out of it and so forth. There's just a lot of options when you own that property. You can just do more with it. Um, of course, sell it, refinance it, take a HELOC out of it. There's these huge options that you can do. The banks can leverage against it and so forth. It's just the possibilities are kind of endless of it all. And yeah. So check out any local credit unions. There's a buddy of mine, Rich, who's pretty creative with lending. You can check him out. But anyone you work with, they're going to want to get you the loan. They're going to want to get you something. So that's obviously the best way to start. And then you can keep educating yourself and keep learning. Check out our education program. Join us. We'll teach you all the different tricks and trades of it all. And you can also keep learning. But now, in the meantime, you have this asset that's just slowly growing, just slowly building in that back pocket of yours. Yeah. So we do have a question that we get every week, so I want to answer this question. Question of the week is, Aloha Indar. I'm about to close on my first real estate deal, but I'm nervous about going over budget on renovations. What is your advice on managing renovations costs for the first time? The best acronym I like to use on renovations are, one, it's like, okay, how do you explain? So a renovation budget is a budget that you set in place to stick to. It's just like going, say you have your 10 closest friends over for dinner and you only had a budget of $300. That's a tight budget to really make a really nice dinner for like 10 friends. You know, could you make a nice dinner? You can. You can go to the store, you only have $300, and you can only buy certain things. You can do this, or you can only buy that, or so forth. The same principle applies in a renovation. You have a budget of $100,000. You can do as much as you want, but you have to stay in that budget. So there's just certain things you're just not going to be able to do. You're not going to be able to reframe the whole house and tear it down and build it at ground up. You're not going to be able to do some maybe bigger, harder things, you know, pour cement slabs, whatever it may costly. So you just have to stick to the certain things you can do. Obviously, you're building out a budget before you start that project, so you should kind of know where you're at, and you should have contingencies in there. Contingencies meaning, in case I go over, I should have a 20% contingency to keep you under budget. So a contingency normally is used to make sure you're under budget as well. So that's important as well. And just sticking to the budget, of course. You know, you kind of play a game. Can I beat the budget and can I beat the timeline of every project? Is always the game to play. You know, can you do that? And that's the name of the game. So you can do it. You can. It's hard, but you can do it. And if not, hire a project manager and make sure that's their job, and they'll do it. So we have a deal highlight of the week at the very end of all our segments. We have our Waiaka property that we're looking for more investors on, to bring more investors onto that property. We have a lot of money tied up in there ourselves, and we're trying to take some capital out of that property. So we're looking for $100,000 for our Waiaka property, and that's a 6 and 8 unit multifamily flip we're doing right now. And then we have our Janesville shopping center that we're looking for more partners to bring in as well on that property. And we just funded our Milwaukee 5-house deal. We just funded that one actually, so we're good there. But we're always looking for more partners, more people to work with us. We love partnering, working with people, and love building relationships. It's a relationship business, and that's what it's about. It's finding good people, solid people that just enjoy working with. So thank you guys. Please like and follow and subscribe. Check out our education platform. We'd love to work with you guys and show you the ins and outs. We just did a fun thing with all our students just the other day. It was more of a professional wealth, personal kind of building of who you are. working on the problems and seeing some of the deep kind of inside of who you are. It was really good. We do have our raising capital, so Jasmine raises capital. Check her out. We raise capital all the time for a different amount of projects. Hawaii Co-working is here for you guys, so please come check out our space and use it. We love to have you here. We just love having people here, like-minded business people who want to build wealth together. So thank you guys. Please like and comment and subscribe. Aloha.